Marvel's Spider-Man was a 2018 action-adventure game developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It was based off the Marvel character of the same name. It was released for PS4 on the 7th of September 2018, and it received praise for its narrative, combat, and characterization. It became the fastest-selling game of the year, one of the best-selling PlayStation 4 games of all time, and the fastest-selling superhero game in the United States. It followed the story of Mr. Negative, a super crime lord, as he seizes control of New York criminal underworld. By threatening to release a deadly virus, in the plot of the video game, Peter faces a lot of his villains, with some known and popular ones like Doctor Octopus. The idea of this fanfiction was to reimagine what would happen to the events of the video game if Doctor Octopus had succeeded in killing Spider-Man. How would the Marvel's Spider-Man release for PS4 in 2018 have gone if Peter had been killed by Doctor Octopus? Let's find out together, shall we? While investigating a breakout at the raft, Spider-Man found out that one of his greatest enemies had escaped and decided to team up against him. And these enemies included Electro and Vulture, Rhino and the Scorpion, and while he had decided to stop them from leaving, they engaged in an altercation. They overwhelmed him and enveloped him with attacks before subduing him. They carried the unconscious Spider-Man back to the lair of Dr. Octopus. As soon as Spider-Man came back to consciousness, Dr. Octopus warned the battered Spider-Man to not get in his way, as they wanted to try and get the devil's breath. But Spider-Man said nothing was going to stop him. He was going to get free and stop them no matter what. Dr. Octopus then told the others to go ahead to the Times Square, and while he took care of Spider-Man alone before he joined them, he immediately attacked the beaten Spider-Man and tossed him into the room across from them. In his dying breath, Spider-Man tried to fight back, but Dr. Octopus used his mechanical arm and ran him through, spewing blood everywhere. And while dying, Spider-Man told Doc Ock that the person he was trying to be was not the person he was. Dr. Octopus then asked him what he knew about him to know who he was and wasn't. Spider-Man then told Doc Ock that he was Peter Parker. Flabbergasted, Dr. Octopus could not believe his ears. He immediately unmasked the Spider-Man to find out that every word was true. He immediately tried to save Peter, but Peter only smiled and said he forgave him. He told Doc Ock to not allow horrible people to influence him to be who he wasn't. This was not who he was. He was a good person. Peter then added that he had been developing a new transmitter that he was going to help seize control of the mechanical arms, and told him where it was before he died. Promising Peter that he was going to do the right thing, Doc Ock watched the bleeding Spider-Man die in his arms. With tears in his eyes, Dr. Octopus used the neurotransmitter Peter made for him. After having a mental battle with his mechanical arms, he was able to finally get control and planted the neurotransmitter to completely subdue the arms. He immediately moved to Town Square, where the villains had planned to release the town square. He planned to stop him, but he was too late. The villains released the virus and caused a massive outbreak that led to a city-wide pandemic. The infection left many people struggling with their lives, and in the millions that were infected, May Parker, Peter's aunt, was one of them. Doc Ock had sworn to protect Peter's family after Peter's death, and it was mere moments after, and he had already failed and broken his promise. While the city plunged into chaos, Dr. Octopus tried to stop the villains from attacking the already chaotic city, but they turned on him for betraying them. While they fought, Osborn declared martial law and blamed Dr. Octopus for the incident, and cemented his claim by releasing footage of him planning and ultimately stealing the devil's breath with the other villains. Immediately, he became public enemy number 1 and retreated with May Parker, which the news reported that he instead kidnapped her. Dr. Octopus kept May Parker in suspended animation to slow down the infection. He knew that it was the only cure available. And while the city mourned Spider-Man and the others that were lost in the incident, Dr. Octopus fought the villains and tried to take back the city. He had later met Mary Jane, who wanted to attack him, but he convinced her that he was a friend and that he had his mind back, thanks to Peter saving him again. He also told her that Aunt May was safe and with him. He informed her that he had put her in suspended suspended animation to slow down the citywide infection that she was a victim of. And he did this because the infection had a cure, and he wanted to get it. He also told her that Lee had it and explained to her that the cure was for Osborn's son Harry, but was terminally ill, and the help of Mary Jane, Dr. Octopus tracked down Lee and fought him. But in the process of trying to keep Mary Jane safe from Lee's attack, they became but trapped, and Lee escaped with the cure, and Osborn, in the process while being trapped in the lab, Mary Jane was bitten by a genetically mutated spider. Confused as to what was wrong with Mary Jane, she took Mary Jane to the same underground lab where he had kept May Parker safe as she continued having a fit. In anger, he went to Oscorp Tower to confront the genesis of all their misfortune. He ended up in the altercation with Lee, and in his hatred of Osborn, he convinced Lee to take a shot at ending the life of the man who destroyed them both. Convinced Doc Ock was on his side, Lee killed Osborn. In the euphoria of his victory, Dr. Octopus also attacks Lee and beats him battered into a coma, finally defeating him. With May Parker in suspended animation, Dr. Octopus spent all his time in creating a vaccine for the infection. After a few months and many deaths in the city, he finally was successful. With his vaccine, he got a full pardon from the government for all his wrongdoing and gets a chance to become a better person. He ended up saving everyone who was suffering from the infection. 3 months later, Mary Jane became the new protector of New York City, taking on the persona of Spider-Woman, and continued to work with Dr. Octopus to keep the city safe from every kind of unpleasantries. Harry was also saved with the vaccine from his terminal illness. He woke up from his very long coma and found out that his father had been killed. He became the sole survivor of the family and the new owner of Oscorp. He demanded to see the footage of the circumstances that led to his father's death. He saw the footage of Dr. Octopus, allowing Dr. Lee to kill his father. He was enraged, and he asked the team of doctors to wheel him to the underground laboratory, where he placed his hands on a glass tube filled with distilled water that had been inky-looking thing in it. The black, wen-like substance reacted to his touch and glued to the glass wall, following the movements of his hand as he moved it. Well, that's all for this fanfiction where Dr. Octopus, who was Peter Parker's close friend, killed Spider-Man unknowingly in the Spider-Man video game released on PS4. We were able to see how Spider-Man's death influenced the plot of this story in such a way that Dr. Octopus switched sides under an oath to a dying Peter Parker. We were also able to see the creation of Spider-Woman at the end of the story, and rather than being Gwen Stacy, it's Mary Jane instead, who replaces Peter Parker as the new hero of New York City while working closely with Dr. Octopus. Leave us a comment and let us know what you think about this fanfiction. If you have any alternative way you think it should have gone, let us know. If you have any ideas that differ from what we have provided, tell us all about it. How do you think it would have happened, and what would have happened if Dr. Octopus had killed Spider-Man in the Spider-Man video game released on PS4? Would Doc Ock have been influenced to be good for Peter's death? Would Dr. Octopus have let Lee kill Osborn even though he was supposed to be reformed? Would Mary Jane have trusted Dr. Octopus knowing he had been responsible for Peter's death? Let us know in the comments section which fanfiction you would like to see us make next. Keep watching our videos. Subscribe, like, and comment, and leave those comments down below. Thank you, take care, and see you in the next video.